Welcome, everybody. Today I'm going to be walking you through four rapid games that I've played against 1800 rated opponents using the beautiful opening that you see on the board, aka the Jobava London. So, the goal of this video is to show you that you can easily dominate pretty strong players just by focusing on simple fundamentals such as backward pawn, a lead in development, a more pleasant endgame thanks to a superior bishop, and things like that that can simply enhance your understanding as a chess player and apply these in no matter what opening you play with the black pieces or with white, really. So let's not waste any more time, and why don't we dive right into the action? All right. Back with another white game, and my opponent is from Bangladesh. Wow, okay, I wasn't actually gonna guess the flag. He starts d6, we're gonna do knight c3, and yeah, as soon as they play d5, we are back in Jobava territory. So it's gonna be a Jobava where he has bishop inside the pawn chain. Gonna go bishop f4, and okay, this can go into basically three things. So, okay, I'm gonna play e3 right now, but just to kind of give you a bit of an overview, it's either he's gonna go bishop b4 take, and we have double c pawns. He's gonna go bishop d6, take on f4, or yeah, he's not gonna enter those structures, and okay, he's gonna be maybe playing some cautious setup where you just go knight f3, bishop d3 castles, and you look for idea to break with e4. So yeah, gonna go e3, and let's see what he'll play for you. And okay, he goes c5. Okay, all right. So normally you always want to go bishop d3 here and then knight f3, and bishop d3 c4 is an issue. So for that reason, dc5 is perfectly fine. And you know, bishop c5, then go bishop d3, knight f3, castle. However, if you want to do this really precise, c5 is actually a common mistake that you can punish because it allows the Excalibur Knight. This is how I named it. If you guys can recall the King Arthur story with the Excalibur sword that was stuck in the snow. I mean, I always say snow, but I mean to say stone. Damn it. Now everybody is going to be confused. Anyways, the point is that knight on b5 is going to be basically impossible for black to get rid of because he has already committed to pawn to c5. And it's not like if you were to play knight b5 here, that's not an Excalibur knight because he has knight a6 and then c6, getting rid of your knight. So e3, Excalibur knight, he takes, always taking back with the e-pawn, getting that juicy control over the e file and specifically e5 square. And now after bishop e7, you can start knight f3 or bishop d3. Gonna develop like that, and basically you will notice that we're entering a very funny position where black is literally paralyzed. So it's gonna do bishop d7, yeah, and now I can do a4. I wanna be able to take back with the pawn, just give him a lot of nightmares on the queen side. And the biggest issue for my opponent is that he cannot really untangle his queen side because knight b8 allows knight c7, winning the rook, and rook c8 always blunders a7 pawn. So there is really like no cure. What ends up happening here is they try some sort of knight e4 f5 g5 activity, but that's only weakening their king. It's actually not something we should be afraid of. But we'll see whether he actually gets to try that or he's just gonna collapse on the queen side faster. So yeah, I'm gonna castle now. He has a pretty narrow window to go knight e4, otherwise it's gonna get closed and we play rook e1. Yeah, okay, so he does the knight h7 stuff. Well, just gonna do simple stuff. Rook e1, plays rook on open file. Not sure where that knight is going. Okay, it was actually going to g5. Interesting. And yeah, maybe this is the first moment to think for a little bit and try to come up with a plan. What I wanted to mention is that in general, you want to go knight e5 rook e3, rook h3, and then look for some sort of maybe queen d2, bishop h6 sacrifice, and just brutally win. But on knight g5, okay, how are we gonna deal with this? So there is same knight e5 that can be played, right? How do we get rid of his knight afterwards, though? We can do knight e5, play around that, or we could also do simple play, like knight takes and then queen d2. Kind of baiting him into bishop takes, queen takes. I feel like he gets many trades. I feel like we shouldn't, yeah, allow it because his position is a little bit cramped due to the lack of space. So when you have like space advantages, right now his pieces are kind of all over the place. He has weird coordination. It's gonna be more difficult for him to coordinate with more pieces on the board. Alternative would be knight d2, but knight on d2 is a bit passive, so yeah, you don't want to get into passive mode. Knight d2 was idea to stop knight e4 completely. Now he can still play knight e4 as a pawn sacrifice to get a bishop at least. But yeah, okay, he goes bishop takes on b5. So see, taking on g5 would have made his game easier. Knight e5 give him more difficult position. He already makes big concession. So already now should have winning initiative on the a file because we have direct pressure on the backward a7 pawn. So okay, how do we continue? Normally my instinct would be just some queen e2 move and then look for ways to double up rooks on the a file. So queen e2 followed by maybe rook a4, rook a1, and just get in contact with that pawn. So notice he can never push because we take en passant. And we have very simple plan. Now that the file opened, we don't have to think about any kingside fantasies, any weird mating attack. No, you can just double up and okay. You need to kind of set up your priorities on the backward pawn because I feel like yeah, backward pawns in general, people don't realize how big of a target they become. So usually a backward pawn, it's something that okay, it's such a big advantage. It's almost like you already have an extra pawn just because opponent has a very difficult time defending it. It's called a backward pawn because it's placed on an open file and it cannot be pushed forward because it's just gonna be lost. So yeah, typical backward pawn would be, let's say, if he had b6 even rather. But yeah, I think this can be fit in the backward pawn category because it still cannot push and it's very vulnerable. So yeah, okay. I mean, you see backward pawn, you just switch the action towards that and yeah, I mean, win a pawn on the queen side, then we just enter trading mode. Also, another way we could perhaps expand now that my opponent's pieces are completely tied down. I'm thinking, okay, how are we gonna convert? I was about to say some b3, c4 potentially, so that we can take with the pawn and go c5. But yeah, on a5, okay, so we cannot take because he has enough defenders, but there is the en passant. So important, guys, en passant only now. You cannot like play h3 or something and en passant next move. En passant has to be played right away, then otherwise it's illegal. So hopefully we clarified that one. And okay, the fact that he got to trade b pawns gives us a more straightforward passer. So yeah, thinking to take with the rook. Could also think about getting rid of the bishop, but yeah, simple move. Take with the rook. So you can see that so far we've been able to effortlessly get winning position against 1800 guy, just extra pawn. Let's see the conversion part. I'm thinking b3, c4 should still be one of the ways. However, it could also be to consider some more aggressive push, pawn all the way to b6. However, already my opponent has to watch out for like a big frat because if he's not careful, we can just win right away. So yeah, let's say if you want, you can try to pause the video and think about White's winning idea. In this position because The rook is adding extra pressure to the knight, so now knight c6 becomes a thing. And then we can eliminate the main defender of the knight, followed by bishop takes on d6 at the end, winning a piece. Now, knight e4 looks like it's stopping that. However, I'm wondering, cannot we just play f3? And then if the knight moves anywhere, then he's going to be vulnerable to the same idea. I think we can. I'm going to go for it. Okay, f3. It's a nice way to get rid of such annoying knights in the middle of the board, usually. So, yeah, it looks like the knight is strong, but I mean, if you don't take, you just kick it out. It's not working, and yeah, now, see, same problem that he had previously. Knight c6, pick up the bishop, and then the knight is going to be loose, so we don't even have to play the meticulous conversion and convert the pawn. Uh, okay, I had to say that due to lack of other words. So, yeah, I had to repeat myself, but now I'm just going to take on e7, bishop d6, and you see that basically our king was never really sweating. We didn't even had to, you know, we didn't had to get any wrinkles during this game. We just played simple opening, Excalibur knight, rook on open file, support the knight, and then just double up rooks on the backward pawn. So I'm telling you, just whenever you get the backward pawn, it's like you won the lottery. Then the position just plays itself, and okay. We have extra rook. In order to force resignation, we should look for a queen trade or just try to promote the b pawn. So yeah, I'm gonna try to push my b pawn while trying to avoid any potential counterplay. So yeah, as long as he's not threatening anything, I'm gonna push, and I'll try to see if he goes active. Yeah, like this, I'm gonna look for ways to maybe defend with tempo, ideally, maybe push as well. Give him the pawn because b7 gets dangerously close to promotion. But yeah, that gives him way too many checks. So I'd rather go queen b2, defending while also supporting the pawn in the long run. So, you know, the queen gives it a little bit of a boost. b6. So rook is protected by the bishop. No need to worry about that. And yeah, the threat is b7, rook a8. If he plays knight b8, I'm probably pinning him. Yeah, pinning should be good enough. Also, I could play b7. Many moves. Okay, so queen b8. Yeah, I gotta check. Anything happening there? I don't think so. Just gonna push. Yeah, he may try queen f4 with a check. So you wanna, you know, just be aware of that. But I think when queen f4 happens, we can try to defend against it. Okay, king g7. Rook a8 is a normal move, trying to promote. Okay, he didn't even play queen f4. Wow. Queen f4 was important because if we queen, there is still queen e3 idea that can be a little bit annoying. Although, yeah, queen f2 is just, yeah, ending the fun. If he checks us, bishop f1. So there wasn't like any realistic counterplay. But now once we promote, we're also forcing exchange of queens. So yeah, he's gonna try queen c3 to go for some trickery, but that allows mate. So yeah. Big frat. Big boy frat. Or yeah, trades queens and then it's gonna be easy. So okay, pretty enjoyable game honestly, and hopefully it's a little bit eye-opening because yeah, from my experience, people are usually a bit unsure why to enter this Excalibur Knight, more specifically when black gets to take on d4 once, and you get kind of like a normal London system position. That's amazing, but why is it so amazing? Well, you saw that black had no moves. Still, it looks like we're gonna have to show that we know how to win with extra rook and bishop. So yeah, I'm gonna keep a moderate level of focus still. Okay, rook b6, looking to trade pawn. d5, open it up. Okay, d5, open it up. Take with the bishop, bishop e4. f7 pawn is like dropping soon. Check. Okay, so I have a plan of trying to put him in a mating net. g3, f4. If he goes f5, I'm gonna go rook b5 and pick it up. So yeah, okay, we might get the pawn checkmate, which is actually a pretty nice way to end this. We're gonna end his suffering with a pawn checkmate. Let's go. That's pretty neat. That's the cherry on top of the cake right there. f4. Has to take. Come on, opponent, give me the checkmate. Come on, don't resign now. You played all the way and you're not gonna give me pawn checkmate? I mean, that would be that's pretty wild, honestly. That's actually making me pretty mad, but anyways, he did pawn checkmate on the board, but yeah, overall, everything was pretty simple. Not getting that pawn checkmate still feels pretty brutal, but I got big news because in the following game, I'm gonna show you one of my newest traps of the Jobava London that works very frequently, especially below 1500, because these kind of guys tend to play the mirror setup quite a lot. Let me show you what I mean. Alright, everybody, back with another white game facing a 1750 rated guy. Yeah, d4, he plays d5, so whenever you see pawn on d5, that is already enabling the Jobava London. So, yeah, getting starting possession of the thing, and already, yeah, I wanted to say, knight to b5 was already on the cards, potentially winning by force, so a6 by my opponent, and okay, first crossroads. We have two moves. E3 or knight f3. Which one would you play? So, considering that this is not your first time watching, you may have seen in the past meet bishop f5 with the move f3. So, exactly for that reason, you want to go e3 first, so that you're giving yourself the opportunity of meeting bishop f5 with f3 in general. So, yeah, he does bishop f5. Now, having he done something else, let's say like knight f6, then you want to play bishop to d3. Basically, he no longer gets bishop to f5 anymore, and he has to either play bishop g4, which is literally just running into the pawn storm with f3, bishop h5, g4, bishop g6, and then h4. And we keep it very nicely in our territory. Or yeah, if bishop d3, e6, then you just play knight f3. And you got him into a position with closed bishop that we're also going to be going over. But bishop f5, okay. Now you have the general sauce to play f3. However, alright, I'm going to give you a little bit of my secret sauce right now because he's playing a line that's also, you can think of it as mirror. So when black tries to literally mirror us, yeah, like notice, either this way or if he played bishop f5, you have a very strong way to break this mirror. You're literally gonna break the glass of the mirror by playing e4. Okay, I mean e4, is this guy completely nuts? What on earth are we doing right here? He just told me a second ago to play f3 and bishop f5. Well, because there is a knight on c6, you can actually take advantage of that by going d5. And oh man, you have no idea how many times I have seen this knight before losing move, and it's actually pretty funny because compared to the normal mirror lines, black would have pawn on a7 in the normal lines. Now he had pawn on a6, which actually does only harm because the knight doesn't even have the retreating square. So yeah, I tested this game, honestly, like these positions a lot below 1500, but it's, yeah, quite funny to see that 1750 type of players just losing 7 moves in rapid. So yeah, a3, literally won the knight. He tries one last cheap trick. Yeah, e3, opening up this, thinking that we're gonna have a heart attack or something and then take one e3. But no, I'm just gonna take the knight. I'm gonna take the knight and I'm gonna take. Yeah, I'm gonna take the goods of having studied this position instead of being partying all day. Only during the night. During the day, we study the Jobava line. So knight f3, just developing right now, extra piece. So the game becomes more straightforward. It's a lot more about doing risk management, and we have a great move to actually win the game. So definitely feel free to pause the video because oh boy, this one's actually gonna be pretty juicy. And it's only move 10 and like so many things are going on. This is actually pretty nuts. Because you can go, well, there's a little bit of a rook that's kind of unprotected on a8. So there is bishop to b5, pinning these pieces because the pawn is actually, it's kind of a sleepy pawn. It's kind of a sleepy guardian on a6. It's, it's not like some dudes get in a fight and then the security guard starts being like Conor McGregor in the middle of them. So yeah, he plays c6. Good move, trying to block this. But now we're gonna go dc. So point with dc is that okay, bc, we just forced queens off, we win another pawn, and then it's gonna be very straightforward. However, having he played queen takes on d1, I don't think we would have gone for the simple move. I think we would have gone for c takes on b7 intermediate. Check. King would have moved, and only then we would have taken the queen. And his rook is in trouble, has to move, but also we're threatening to promote. So he would have been completely screwed. But yeah, after BC, okay, not much going on. I mean, there is a simple move. Does it make sense to play knight d5? Because the knight is untakeable and we're threatening knight c7. So knight d5, cb5, knight c7. Nah, that's like just unnecessary BS. So I'm just gonna take on d7, retreat with the bishop, or actually, what am I saying? Retreat? No, I'm just gonna take the pawn. That's a free pawn, isn't it? Could take with the rook or with the bish. He's got e5 on the agenda as well. Wanna be still aware of what he's trying to do, even though the position is completely winning. I think I'm gonna take with the rook just because in general we are prioritizing trades while having the extra material. Expecting him to trade and then play e5, which yeah, we'll just have to move the bishop. I see my king could be vulnerable on these diagonals, so I like to get the extra layer of security by playing bishop to e3. So yeah, just making sure our king is not gonna be bothered. My opponent kindly decides against taking the free pawn. Well, somebody woke up today's morning and felt pretty generous. Mr. Dreadnought. Okay, I don't know what that is, but I'm just gonna play b5 and I'm gonna trade my double pawn for his. Okay, maybe healthy. It's a bit too much to say, but for his normal pawn. CB, bishop takes. Okay, knight h6. What have I told you? Whenever we see exchanges, we do them. Take the knight, double up his pawns. Take on c6. He has to take with the bishop. Yet again, notice the trade. Go for it. That's the end game. So soon enough, he won't even have pieces that if you blunder, you can lose against. So yeah, at this point, it's just very tough to lose because the amount of material that he has left on the board, it's actually very limited. So he takes, we're just going to be recapturing, expecting some maybe rook g8 to attack, but we can easily play g3. And okay, what to do? First of all, there are 4 minutes on the clock, so no rush yet. But okay, we want to bring our last piece into the game. So rooks are naturally going to open files. Therefore, rook d1 or rook a1 are my candidates. And I'm just trying to see which one we can use to infiltrate. So if we think of rook d1, then king e6, it's, look at something that wants to prevent you from going rook d7. But yeah, okay, king e6, there is some knight check at least. So rook d1, I feel like it's very difficult for him to stop us from infiltrating, which made it my main candidate move. If rook b8, trying to attack these two guys on the b file, I think I can just support. So on rook b8, we just support. Other than that, maybe rook d7 check. So yeah, rook g8, g3. If e4, the knight could centralize. Also e4, the knight, because it's endgame, it doesn't tell that much. The knight is on the edge. You have enough time to reroute. And c4, honestly, just looking forward to place rook on the 7. Remember, guys, whenever you have rook endgame or something like that, rook on the 7th rank or on the 2nd rank, you just smash. All right, that's never in question. Best place for the rook on the chessboard, the rook on the 7th rank, the rook just smashes. Okay, king g6. I'm gonna go check. Gonna go check because it feels like king is close to getting mated. So I'm gonna defend now my knight, and that feels to be threatening checkmate. Because yeah, okay. So he goes for the deeper dive. I was about to go there and mate on f5, but now on the check, notice that he wants to go via h3 and hide. Huh. This guy is starting to be a pain in the ass. He's actually planning to hide. Okay. So that's a little bit annoying. We could try to pull up a forced checkmate, but I think at the end of the day, it should still be about keeping things simple. So I'm just gonna give him a check, make the king position a little bit worse, or at least I was thinking that way. That it's worse, maybe it's better. And now I was thinking to just attack the bishop and try to push the pawn. So the c pawn is the one that's most advanced. It feels like the one that can promote the quickest. So we'll just try to pave the road for the c pawn. And yeah, his king activity shouldn't really matter that much. Expecting some kind of bishop b6 and then rook c6, c5. This is kind of what we're playing for. If bishop g1, maybe knight f3, keep harassing the bishop. It's true I could have collected pawn on h7 and then try to win h5 as well. Was also winning, but yeah, I just wanted to play for activity and limit the bishop. Now expecting king h2. Okay, bishop d8, so he defends. I still cannot push because the knight hangs. So I also cannot move the knight because that allows rook b2. So I gotta activate the knight. Yeah, I have extra piece, so gotta make some use of it. Otherwise, it's pointless. Expecting king h2, and then, okay, maybe just some king f3, improve position of the king. So, yeah. Notice that still he doesn't really have a way to make progress, and yeah, any kind of move that he makes will generally have major drawback, like rook a8. And if he tries to activate the rook this way, maybe we can trap his bishop. So also I can think of ways to maybe actually, now that he took the pawn, I could switch and be like, I was just kidding, I'm not gonna go for the c pawn, I'm gonna go for a mate. So in fact, why don't we just do that? Rook d8, saying rook has to babysit the bishop, while there could also be idea to check. And there could also be idea to go rook d7 and take both pawns. Now that h file is open. So Yeah, okay. At this point, what is more important than trying to find some kind of like a forced win? Because this is usually how you tend to tunnel vision and start throwing is to focus on your opponent's ideas and not necessarily doing something productive about your possession, but just the fact that okay, you constantly stop him from doing his plan. That's usually more than enough. So yeah, bishop a5 stops me from rook d2, but just forgets about the f6 pawn, and we can collect the pawn and then get rid of the remaining stuff on the h file. So yeah, okay, yeah, he got a little bit of counterplay with the king on h2, but my knight on f5 is keeping everything safe. Yeah, he goes rook there. He wants to infiltrate. Now, I could ignore that, or I could play some move like knight d6, trying to say that yeah, we are restricting him a little bit. I don't really think we restrict him much because he can turn to the b file. So I'm just gonna go for the pawns. Yeah, he checks me. I'm gonna go king up, attacking the rook, about to get rid of his remaining pawns. And yeah, I know this may look a little bit like a weird conversion. I mean, not weird, but boring, I meant to say. Because, okay, you won. The game was so exciting, so cool in the beginning. We started with a trap. We wanted to see blood. You know, we wanted to see like a KO. Like, you get a knockdown in the first round. I mean, we need to see the guy to sleep. But no, I mean, even if it may feel like that, I don't know how it's in boxing, but in chess, definitely transitioning into the end game and just okay, playing longer game, even though yeah, it's not so fun. It's just um, it gives you highest rate of conversion. You can, it's basically impossible to mess it up if you transition to the end game. So yeah, now we just take his rook and yeah, has bishop left. Okay, I mean, I'm just gonna go for the pawn promotion. So yeah, if I think about it, probably it's better in boxing to try to force a knockout while the guy is shaky, but it's not like that in chess. So in chess, you win a pawn. Okay, here we won a piece, but even if you win like a single pawn, yeah, you just have to try to kill the game. Kind of like in soccer. So you score one goal and then you defend like a national team of Italy. You just kill the game. Okay, gonna take. Push. And you just wanna win 1-0. That's in a nutshell how chess is played. Okay. When you get started, also when you get to be a bit more advanced, this is always the proper way of playing it. Some people like to play a bit more fun, which, yeah, okay, you can do it, but it also comes with additional risks. So, yeah, okay, I'm just gonna get the queen, and now we get to the ladder checkmate. Yeah, quite often you're gonna get this situation where you leave your opponent with his king butt naked, and you get queen and rook. You do the ladder mate, so you trap him on the edge, and then give the checkmate. So, okay, gonna pull up a game review. Okay, was pretty long game, but got 96. That conversion took a little bit longer than expected, but in such situations, patience is simply the key. However, in the following game, we're gonna be going over one of the most asked questions, which is, okay, how are we supposed to deal with this kind of random knight h5 against the Jabara London? Targeting the bishop and creating somewhat of a messy scenario on the board. This is exactly gonna be the topic of the next game. So let's dive right in. All right, everybody, we're back with another white game. Gonna do yeah, what we love the most, and we're gonna be going for the Jabava London, of course. starting position, opponent plays d5, enabling the Jabava London. So let's see what he chooses to play. Almost 1900 from the Philippines. Why the heck did I thought that was Czech Republic? Anyways, yeah, he goes c6. Wow, so many people go into this Slav and into the bishop to f5 kind of lines. Okay. Now, will he play bishop to f5? Most people do, because otherwise it's awkward to play it with bishop blocked by e6. Oh, wow, he does. The triangle Slav. All right, so here's bishop inside the pawn chain. Basically, you want to remember bishop goes to d3, knight f3, castle, and then look for e4 break. That's going to be the key move that most people tend to miss. The e4 break. As a move of the trick, you can always start with e3 first, then bishop d3, then knight f3. But okay, he suddenly changes his mind and plays with c5. So it's not very often that people play c6 and then c5 because it's losing a tempo, and he could have done that in one go. And yeah, we have a few ways to potentially deal with this. The most standard move, considering the fact that c5 is threatening to do c4, making our bishop passive, would be to just go take. That's very easy. You can go for it. However, the other thing to consider is whether knight b5 is a move. Getting the Excalibur knight after knight a6, c3. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's very much an option as well, because in c4 you can just do bishop c2, but I'm just gonna do a simple play this time because it's a little bit strange. Normally with the bishop on f1, we always do Excalibur knight, but you could have done it here as well, but I'm just gonna do this because I want to show you the upcoming structure after e4 break. Since, yeah, we're gonna have an Excalibur knight game in the video already. Or, yeah, you may have seen it as well if I decided to put that game first. So, knight f3, castle, e4. Those are the moves that we're gonna be playing, and oh boy, you have no idea how many people reach this structure, alright? Remember, that light square bishop, basically light square prisoner, I like to call it. Michael Scofield, if you've seen Prison Break. When he has Michael Scofield, you just go e4. You developed, push e4, and this e4 move, people may not realize, but it's actually threatening to win in one move. And I'm not exaggerating, because if black ignores it, we're actually threatening to push e5. And after the knight moves, what do you think we can play? Pause the video. White has a winning move. Because we can go bishop takes on h7. Great gifting his ass. And after king takes, knight g5, king g8, queen h5. We're going to get a pretty standard checkmate. However, of course, my opponent does none of that. Plays knight h5. Wow. Actually, out of all the moves, that one I have to say kind of catches me off guard. But the main idea why this is not so scary in general is that you have many squares for the bishop, more specifically bishop g5. So avoid this trade with a tempo. So yeah, bishop g5 just gonna do standard play. Maybe bishop d2 was also an option. Now, to just briefly discuss the other options, having he captured the endgames are very pleasant after queen d1, rook d1. In fact, I'm very sure we're going to have one of those endgames in this video as well. And d4, you just have knight d2, and then you want to play e5 to keep his bishop passive. So the trick after d4 is to not let him push free Michael Scofield. No, you just want to play e5 and at least let the guy work a little bit for his freedom. Break out of a high security prison or something like that. So, okay. f6 now. F bishop h4, but that kind of allows him to do knight f4. So I'm just gonna go bishop back all the way to d2. So by elimination, I want to stay away from double pawns, and I don't want to play bishop on initial square. Bishop h4 allows that, as I said, so just bishop d2. A lot of these kind of decisions in chess, you just need to consider the options, try to put them, in balance, and then, yeah, okay. Clearly bishop d2 best move because it's threatening. g4 trapping knight. And I mean it literally. We could win the knight if he's not careful. And if de, we take for the knight, winning a tempo. And notice that it was important. I mean, important, maybe it's a bit much to say, but it's very nice to provoke this f6 weakening because having we gone bishop d2 right away, g4 is not a threat because he still has this knight square. So after bishop g5, not that his knight is trapped, but it's also f6 kind of weakening in general, apart from taking away the square. It goes d4, we're gonna stick with standard move. I was about to say, does it make sense to try to capitalize on the momentum and go knight a4 threatening the bishop, because after he moves it, there is still potential for g4? I don't think it's worth it because he has bishop d6 and g4 he saves the knight. Just gonna play simple move. This is a threat, so he's gonna be just in time with e5. Playing Michael Scofield and also keeping the knight alive. Wow, that's kind of lucky for him to make it work. But now he goes g5. What? That's nuts. Who plays g5 and why? That was utterly unnecessary for him to weaken the king, but who am I to criticize? I'm just a damn YouTuber. But now that I think about it, there could be a pretty juicy way to sort of punish black for doing this. So feel free to pause the video and look for the best move. And I'm gonna give a bit of a spoiler alert. It could be a tactical combo. Okay. I was referring to taking on d4 twice and then picking up the undefended knight. I mean, it takes on b2, rook b1, bishop back somewhere. It's like material is equal, but his king is like so much weaker. I'm actually gonna go for that. It's just insanely strong. Maybe we had other interesting continuations as well, but this one just felt really on point. Also, could have been interesting to take with the other knight as well, considering that maybe he still has some g4 idea, but I don't really believe in it, so I didn't think it was enough of a reason to do the other knight. And okay, now we're sacrificing a piece for the moment because the knight on h5 is undefended and we're ready to collect. So if there is something that you really want to watch out for in chess, especially as a beginner, is undefended pieces. That is really the biggest tell. Okay. So whenever you think of something to do, okay, sure, you apply basic rules, like you develop your pieces, stuff like that. Try to look for a pawn break, but in general, something that could trigger you a moment to pause for a bit and calculate is when you notice your opponent has undefended pieces. So that's a big tell. It could be worth it to pause for a bit, look for a minute, search for ways to exploit that. Other than that, yeah, if he doesn't have undefended pieces, you're just missing your time looking for tactics in general. So decides to go knight back. I'm gonna have to do the same. And I choose the move with a tempo. I had many knight squares, but the only tempo move was knight b3. So tempo just weighs a lot in making the decision. Like, position is now open. In close positions, tempos are not so important, but yeah, definitely open position here. About to open up. Okay. Yet again, I want to look for tempo move, and he has no undefended pieces. As you can see, everything is protected. What other tempo move can we do? It's a pawn break. So looking for f4. Targeting this right away. We can try to visualize that position a little bit. We're going to have an undefended rook on f4. Can he take advantage of it by any ways? I don't see. So we might as well just go for it. Okay, this is very simple. You notice hook on g5. You want to play tempo move. So f4 just screams to be played. Just taking advantage of his overextending. Also knight on g7. Kind of silly play. He's going to have a hard time entering the game. He's going to have to probably take twice and then go e5. Trying to like open up a square for the horsey, but yeah, we already have extra pawn. I could have also gone for something like queen e2, connecting rooks. That was also fine. But yeah, generally, whenever you can attack the hook like that, it's... yeah, you can sort of rush with it a little bit. Just because once we do this thing, we may get an additional square for the queen on d2. Because initially here we only had, let's say, e2 square for the queen. Like f3 square for the queen doesn't make that much sense because it's blocking the pawn. And g4 square doesn't make sense at all because you're placing yourself on the bishop line. So with queen e2, yeah, I wanted to start with this because, okay, after the trade, I would have had more options. Thus, I consider this to be a bit more flexible. Wow, he didn't take. Crazy. That's actually wild that he didn't take. Okay. Well, he's making another threat. Now, for instance, I could do queen f3 because I'm no longer blocking the pawn to defend. I could take. His main argument is to take on h2, I guess, but he has no follow-up, so might as well open it up. Also, I briefly checked e5, but it's kind of too complicated for no reason, so I'm going to give him bishop h2 because it's going to be very costly for him to keep the bishop over there. And yeah, this is a threat. He's never in time to do anything with the queen. Like, to get the mating construction, he needs to teleport the queen to h4 and then do bishop g3. And then queen h2. Basically switching places, queen and bishop. But yeah, queen g3, first of all, can bring the queen. But probably even better, right? You can try to pause the video and find one of the winning moves. You would have had bishop f4. Oops. And yeah, queen moves, collect the bishop with the win. He takes this way, but yeah, notice the position has opened up and he hasn't connected the rooks yet. So it's definitely, clearly, very clearly that opening things up is to our favor simply because we're the better developed side. So yeah, you have development advantage. That can very well, you know, disappear in a couple of moves if you don't capitalize on it. So you're gonna look for ways to open up the position. Okay, here it's a bit of an exceptional case because we already have the extra pawn, so there was no rush with that. But just in general, I'm saying I'm gonna do rook f1, threatening mate. I could have collected the pawn as well, but I went for a stronger threat. And yeah, we can take the pawn. I could also do e5, trying to deflect the bishop from defending the mating square. So e5 is probably gonna force him to do what? I don't see a defense. Bishop e7 enables queen f7. Bishop c5 enables knight takes and then queen f7. So we're either winning a piece or we are mating. All right, can you guys smell this? It's the ugly smell of mating. Here it is. We made, I mean, we could potentially get one of those nice puzzle rush motifs if he plays bishop e7. I hope he does, just for like instructive purposes. It's gonna be a pretty nice final picture for the video. One opponent, don't be a cock blocker. Don't do something silly. Play bishop e7 is the most logical move. Come on, opponent. Only 2 minutes left. Bishop e7. Okay, of course he's gonna do something completely nonsense and deny me that picturesque checkmate. I mean, first of all, simple. Take, that wins a piece. You can do that. You're gonna win most of your games. That is just fine. However, can I go for the throat? Bang! He has same issue with the bish. Okay, I'm gonna go here. Trying to bait him into bishop e7, thinking that, oh, now it comes with a tempo. Okay. Come on, opponent. So bishop e5 is getting mated in 1. That's like out of the question. Okay, the tension is in the air. Knight h5, queen g5, instantly resigns. Knight e8, same story. You check and then take the bishop. Please keep in mind it's move 23 and he hasn't finished development, and we're already about to do the final touch. Does he realize he's getting mated? Why is he like taking so long to play bishop e7? It's the only move that's not obviously losing, but maybe he saw it already. Have you guys seen it? I'm saying it's made, but I'm not saying how, so maybe you're a little bit confused. I already gave you a hint that it's like on Puzzle Rush, but yeah. This guy just doesn't want to hand me the mate. I'll have to check and then pick up this. That's a bit unfortunate. Has to now block with a knight. I'm gonna show you what the checkmate was in that position once we finish this clown fiesta. I mean, we just used a pretty nice combo in the center, knight d4. He didn't go for like what I believe to be the best defense, but I think it would have been much worse regardless, because he played down a pawn. He could have actually won back the pawn, but I think that would have still been bad. And yeah, queen g7. Simply takes these, because we attacked the bishop, and then, okay, we gave ourselves a nice little backdoor. So feel free to pause the video and find the last nail in the coffin, because we could do queen e8. That's why I did it this way. I have the back ranker. So yeah, okay, very quickly I'll have to show you the checkmate, having he played bishop e7 like any other normal human being would. And he might as well let his clock run out, because why the hell no? Okay, important moment. So bishop e7, they have allowed a very funny checkmate with knight on g7. That's just like a pawn. Have queen f8. Would have gotten a very nice back ranker. And in the game, I considered bishop d4 to be best defense, and then I would have gone for takes, and I felt like after we get in some f4 break, okay, here we have e5, but I was looking at bishop e5 mainly to centralize. I was thinking f4 here should be very good. Now that you know how to punish these knight h5 type of moves, it's finally time to complete your knowledge of this video by showcasing how to navigate this kind of thematic endgame. So this is gonna be the topic of the next game. All right, everybody, back with another game facing 1800 opponent, which is my neighbor from Ukraine. All right, gonna be going for the Jobava London. He plays d5, so yeah, remember that Jobava London only works when you see this pawn on d5, and all right, opponent is going for the e6 move. Now, you have to understand that when playing Jobava London, you either get positions where he plays bishop outside the pawn chain, where you can pawn storm, or he plays bishop inside the pawn chain. So that's why Jobava London is kind of tricky for black, is because it plays against their light squared bishop. So, okay, what we're gonna do now, e3, my favorite move by far. Knight b5 playable, but I want to get you to learn e3 first. So, as a rule of thumb, we do e3 before knight f3. And also, in general, you can do bishop d3 always first before you do the knight to f3 thing. So, anytime you play e3, bishop d3, knight f3, you're going to be okay. So, bishop d3, I'm just going to be playing it right now. And, okay, he goes c5. So, okay. First critical moment of the game, you can try to pause for a little bit and think about how would you react to this. Okay, what is the idea with c5? Black, okay, it's putting pressure on d4, but amongst other things, there could be this pretty annoying move c4, and then the bishop has to go on e2. And generally, what you want to understand about this structure when you have enemy bishop inside the pawn chain is that okay, we're just slightly better thanks to the more active bishop that's gonna give us an attack. So dc5, knight goes to f3 like normal. That's okay, very thematic way to develop for us. And okay, my opponent plays bishop to d6, and yeah, we have interesting choice right now. So definitely we can castle, or we can take and break with e4. So, which one should we go for? I'm trying to like think a little bit which one is more instructive. We might have to play with e4 anyways. It's not like it's guaranteed he will take, which is a good structure for us after taking with the pawn, because we get good control of the dark squares. But yeah, I'm just gonna stick with simple moves. So I'm gonna take, and generally we don't really make this trade. It's just that okay, the only plan to get any play is to do e4. So we had to trade the bishops so that we can push. And I'm gonna go for it right now. There is e5 on the agenda, so opponent has to either take or play knight c6, I would say. These would be the moves. So yeah, he decides. For the one that's giving us easier play, on knight c6, I would have doubled down on the frat with rook e1, reinforcing e5, and probably then he goes for the takes, which is actually would have been kind of similar. So taking with a knight, I am happy to enter the endgame if he goes for it. Also, yeah, having he kept queens with a move like queen c7. There is also Greek gift idea with knight g5, queen h5. That could be annoying, but if you can't decide to play, then just simple moves like c3, queen e2, or queen c2, and rooks on the central files. And white is just slightly better thanks to the bishop. But yeah, the endgame in general, it's even more straightforward. But we'll see. Okay, plays knight d7. He wants that. And okay, big moment right now. Try to pause the video and think about how would you continue. How would you, let's say, think of arranging your pieces and set up a constructive plan to, yeah, kind of take advantage of the fact that black is having a hard time developing. So, okay, assuming you paused the video and you thought about it, I actually made a trick question. This was a tactic moment. So, bishop takes on b7. That's the point. The bishop is overloaded. And now you just get to win a pawn. Why am I so sneaky in phrasing it? Because we gotta get you used to the fact that during the game, you don't get an alarm that there is a tactic. But at least I told you it's a good moment to think. So just gonna recapture, and now, okay, we're having this very typical endgame with extra pawn. So it's typical because, okay, quite often they play knight c6, and then you have this idea of taking and then playing rook d6. So what ends up happening is that we win the c pawn more or less in the near future. It happened in a bit of a funny way here, and now it's just time to convert this extra pawn rook endgame. So, oh man, I don't be playing exciting chess. So, yeah, okay. Yet again, this is good moment to pause and think how would you meet this rook d8 idea. I think by far best move rook d1. We have to fight for the open file. Big mistake to take and then give him idea to infiltrate, get some activity. So no, you just have to keep good control and okay, we'll see what to do after. Okay, good moment to pause again. What do you think we should play? We have to really work your endgame technique, and the key concept that you want to understand here is that you want to use your king like Manuel Neuer. Okay, the king is about to go crazy. Okay, opponent targets my rook. Okay, we need to move the rook, but we want to be keeping it as active as we can. So, yet again, this can be a nice little exercise for you. Because, yeah, you have any kinds of rook d4, rook b7, rook d3 type of ideas to retreat. But, okay, the way I see this, it's rook c7 feels good enough because he can't chase the rook anymore because he loses f7. So I think rook c7 and rook b7 are equally good. Yeah, I don't really see a difference. I'm gonna do rook c7, then preparing to bring the king. Okay, he goes h5. We're gonna continue our mission. So we're bringing the king first, and then we start pushing the pawns. Because if you were to start pushing pawns first without having the king to support, then yeah, pawns would have become pretty loose. So, okay, I can do king d3, but I have to watch out for the check. So the question is, do I do c4 first? Preparing king d3 so that when the check happens, we can hide via c3. Because I wouldn't like to play king c3 there, slowing down the pawns. So I think, yeah, for that reason, I prefer c4, and if he tries rook d8 regardless, we can sort of make his rook passive by attacking the pawn. I think that's the play. So it's all about trying to optimize your pieces while also keeping opponent kind of passive, kind of tied down if you can. So yeah, it goes a5, and yeah, now king d3 feels like a good move. On check, effortless hide, king c3. And then, okay, we have something that's really deadly in chess, which is the two connected passers. But, okay, how do we deal with this check? So we have king c3. Yeah, it's just, okay, do we allow rook d1? That's the question. Because if not, then I could do king c2. But then he has other idea, rook d4, rook h4. Okay, maybe we'll have to be a bit precise, actually. So I'm going to do king c3. He's going to get a bit of counterplay. All right. I'm trying to calculate a little bit because things are about to get a little bit messier than expected. Maybe bringing the king was a bit of a comfort move by me because king would have been now quite useful to stop these pawns, but I feel like king would be, yeah, just making sure that the pawns are promoting. So I'm just going to do a3. I think the way to go is we sacrifice these pawns, but basically b pawn should be queening. Maybe a4 is now good try for him because I have to lose a lot of time to take the pawn. I think he has to do a4 as black. Important move to slow us down. Wait, what? Come on, opponent, you were on the right track for counterplay. Rook d7, it's like resigning. I mean, any game down a pawn, you're lost by force. So, wow, very surprising decision right there. We have to analyze that endgame a little bit after. Um, yeah, I think I kind of butchered the technique a little bit, but now, okay, I mean, it's the pawns are just checkmating. Yeah, okay, king d5, win the pawn next. Yeah, take. Just, okay, rook d7. Wow, that was like really resigning, basically. Um, yeah, I'm gonna take his kingside pawns. He's unable to defend because I would have queens. So, yeah, he resigns, but tricky there on the technique.